Welcome to a very wet London and what is going to be a special video. This is Europe's first ever authorised Harley Davidson dealership. It is also apparently the world's longest running Harley Davidson dealership that's still family owned by the same founding family. Warr's Harley Davidson, Monika, quick, on the King's Road in London. I'll introduce you to someone special today. This is John Warr, former international motorcycle racer and importantly, since 1990, Managing Director of Warr's Harley Davidson.
That's right, Warr's Harley Davidson.
Very special year, but I'll let you run us through it. Can you give us a decent history about Warr's?
Yeah, well, we've been here 100 years this year, so it's quite an achievement. Started in 1924, pretty much on this site, even though this is a new building, or newish. Started by my grandfather. He carried it through the sort of 30s and 40s, bit of a hiccup in the mid 40s, and then my father took over in the sort of late 40s, early 50s, and then I sort of took over, as you said, sort of late 80s, early 90s, and here we are, so yeah. So Europe's oldest Harley Davidson dealership, and probably the world's oldest that's still family owned and operated.
I mean, you're a Warr yourself. The family line, you are the grandson. Of the original founder.
It. Yeah. Captain Fred James Warr, and then his son Fred Warr Jr., and then I'm John Warr. Yeah.
I'm in good company. Right. A Frederick, a Fred, and Fred
here today. It's a good name. Yeah.
The thing I wanted to touch on that I found so interesting started in 1924. Yeah. I mean, this was not an easy time. It would have been so easy. Why didn't you just pick selling British bikes? What's the fascination with Harley Davidson?
Yeah, well, at the time, I think grandfather'd come out. He'd been through the whole First World War on the front and everything like that. Came out in 1918, like everybody, demobbed, and couldn't find work apparently. So imagine what they must have seen in that time. Anyway, he came out, couldn't find work, went back into the military for about 4 or 5 years. Went to the Middle East, rose up the ranks, became captain, blah blah blah, and so he must have saved a bit of money. So then this was his neighbourhood, he was Fulham born and bred. So he came out, decided to open a motorbike shop, but also general servicing. They would do anything, batteries, cars, all that sort of stuff.
Harley specifically?
What happened in 1924, he then went to Harley Davidson's head office for the UK, which was in Newman Street, just up the road, because Harley were really going great guns at the time. They had war contracts and all sorts of stuff, and the bikes were seen as very reliable compared to lots of other stuff that was around. So had a good following. So he thought, I'm going to see if I can be a dealer. So he went along to Newman Street, and that year got appointed as a dealer. Yeah, and that showroom in Newman Street was still there up until, reasonably recently in the 60s. It's obviously been vacated by Harley many years before that, but apparently up until about the 60s, there's a bar and shield sunk into the pavement outside where the building was in West 1.
So things going well, 1924 started, Warr came along 1939.
Yep.
You then didn't manage to get any Harley Davidsons from the US until 1956. So your father was desperately lobbying the British government and the Americans to say, come on, please, let us bring in some Harley Davidsons. Because what did you do in the time between 39 and 56 with no supply of Harleys?
Well, the thing is, in 1939, obviously, business shut. Grandfather goes back into the army again for a third time. Dad's in the Air Force, so no business goes on. So vans are requisitioned, must have been really tough. Yeah. So anyway, comes out, it's 46, 47. All they can sell, Harley-wise, is military bikes. So things like the WL750s, because there was loads of them.
So you'd go to military auctions, or your dad would go to military auctions to find these bikes to keep the business running?
Yeah, he would go and buy, a ton of ex-war department stuff and all of these bikes. It was the only thing they could get. They couldn't get new ones, as you said, so they would renovate the military stuff, civilianise it, anything but green. And they chrome plate stuff, like you can imagine, that was the thing to do, and sell them. And that's what kept the business going until the sort of mid-50s, when we managed to get an import licence again, because Harleys were seen as luxury goods, and there was strict tariffs on all that sort of stuff, well, bans on it. But eventually, after much lobbying, he got a licence to import Harleys again. And he went over to Milwaukee, saw the factory people, had lunch with William Davidson on his boat on Lake Michigan.
And he had to actually sail over to the
US.
US.
He did, yeah.
Sailed
That's
over
right, he sailed over, yeah.
And he was, is it fair to say, your dad and grandfather, they were fairly instrumental in solidifying Harley Davidson as a brand in the UK?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they sort of, they saw it through that period when there weren't that many dealerships. And of course, after the war, there were no dealerships. And right until the 1970s, we were pretty much the only representation Harley had.
Which is just staggering, all the way through to the 70s. Yeah. So what we've got here, this is the site of the original 19...
Yes, that's right. Near enough, yeah.
Just walk us through it. How old is what we see here
Okay,
now?
well, this building was built specially for us in 2000. Well, we moved in year 2000, it took about 2 years to build. So we then relocated from the previous shop we were in, which was just around the corner.
How small was the previous one?
It was a small Victorian terraced shop, but it did have a big area at the back and it had big basements full of parts and stuff like that. So, but when I came along sort of and started to get into running the business in the 80s, Harley were then on a bit of a boom. You know, they basically had brought out a new bike, they brought out a new engine, Evolution engine, which kind of changed their fortunes, and they started to get serious about selling stuff. So I kind of hit the ground running. I'd given up racing, got used to do a lot of racing, realised that the business is where I was really at, and got going with it there. And,
You've all done racing, haven't you?
Yes, my father did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was into that, and I used to road race all over the place. So yeah, I got back into the business, and went on from there. And Harley were then on a bit of a crest of a wave through the 80s and 90s. Yeah. The business really picked up, and it enabled us to invest more into the business, yeah.
So, here we've got, I mean, it's actually a refreshingly large selection of bikes. I love it when there are a few of the older models as well. How do you go about it? Do you have a limit? For example, we won't touch a bike, sell a bike that's older than 2008.
Yeah.
What's your limit for what you've got in stock now?
If it's got Harley Davidson on a tank, that's it.
Yeah.
We work on it, yeah. And we supply parts for them and all sorts. But so,
I really want to touch on this with the parts and also your workshop, because this is slightly different to a lot of people that have been telling me how Harley Davidson places work. So I really want to get on that. But from this point of view here, everything we see here, this is everything currently in stock. You don't have anything in the back. What you see here?
There are bikes that aren't in the showroom that are on our website, for example. And you'll see as you walk around, there are lots of other bikes dotted here, there and everywhere. But as a rule, we try and keep the most current stock here. So you've got a mixture of new and used. And there's also quite a smattering of bikes from our own collection. Just to make the difference, because we get people coming from all over the world to visit us, and it's nice to sort of have a changing scenery. There's early bikes, there's sort of bikes from the turn of the century.
Well, this is almost, it's a dealership, but it's almost a bit of a museum as well, isn't it? It's definitely a destination place. Am I right in thinking the museum segment is upstairs?
we got quite a lot of bikes around the corner there.
Because we need to go and see that. But from this bit, are there any bikes for you that stand out? Anything especially special?
Well, I mean, this is a selection of what we've got in right at this time, and even now there are certain bikes here that you probably wouldn't find anywhere else. So we've got some new bikes, we've got some anniversary editions, we've got 120th anniversary Road Glide there.
This is lovely, because you ride into work.
Yeah. This is the new Street Glide, brand new 2024 model with a new Helix.
And you ride to work on one of these?
Yeah, every day, yeah.
How good is that in the winter, riding into work on one? How is it?
It's a fabulous piece of kit. I mean, every year you think they can't really get much better, but this year it's just so, I was just telling the guys this morning, we've only had them for like a couple of weeks now, sort of getting to know all the bits and pieces, all the TFT screen, all that sort of stuff. But the ride of it is just so smooth. And the transmission, I noticed this, it's just a click, literally, change gear. There's no clonks or anything like that.
1900, is it?
This is just 1927 cc.
They are getting colossal. I mean, they're all going to be 2 litres.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much 2 litres.
So,
I think it is super efficient. You fill a tank up, you've got a 300-mile range on it. So, you don't have to ride it. So you can, with the Harleys, especially with that motor, you can give them some stick. We just ride them easy. It's like we always say it's like a big V8. That motor delivery is just fabulous.
So the daily ride for you into work.
Yep.
And a few of these here. This is really interesting. We've got the Sportsters here.
Yeah.
What I find so interesting about the Sportsters, a very big shift away from the original Sportster. So do you find you're getting owners bringing in their old Sportsters, trading them in because they want the new one, or do you find the owners holding on to their old Sportsters because it's such a big step away from
the traditional air-cooled Sportster, the Evolution engine Sportster, has been with us since the 50s. In fact, we've got one of the very first ones over there. It's always been a popular bike, always been priced nicely, and always got people into the range. So they're still good sellers. You know, they stopped them now, I suppose, 3 or 4 years ago, and replaced it with the new Sportster S. Very popular, very stylish.
Okay.
Different kind of ride, probably more sporty and certainly faster. But you get people who like both, and we've definitely got customers who've got the original Sportster and the new Sportster. But it is dragging in a lot of other people who probably wouldn't have gone for an air-cooled engine before.
Yep.
So we're seeing new customers come for that. And of course you can do all this customising. There's one in a custom colour there. And there's some air-cooled Sportsters over the back there. We've always got a selection.
That. I know you've got the old ones as well to sell. What's the biggest seller? What's the most popular bike for you where you know if you get it into stock, right, that is going to walk out of the showroom?
At the moment, air-cooled Sportsters are very popular.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
I know.
It's fascinating.
We're liking it a little bit to the Land Rover Defender.
Yeah.
You know, the older one. Very popular, you know.
So one of these, for example,
well, that one's...
looking at something like that, a £6,000 air-cooled Sportster, this is a pretty popular bike.
Yeah, very popular, and they're good value as well, you see.
I know.
I mean, this one here, this is another one that's just come in. What year is this? This is a 2016. 7 grand. I mean, it's a lot of bike for your money.
Yeah.
You know.
And they hold on to their value
exactly
insanely well,
yeah,
these bikes, don't they?
brilliantly.
Do you find them actually going up in value a bit
Yeah,
now?
some of them are. The 48 Sportster, which is the more sort of a custom styled, you just cannot get them for love and money without paying over the odds big style.
How are these doing?
Yeah, Pan America goes well. I mean, it's a completely different marketplace for Harley, really. Got the big Revolution Max engine, liquid cooled.
Stunningly nice
adventure
to ride.
touring, yeah. And it is, you know, it does what it says on the tin, basically. You can go from here to Timbuktu on the thing. Load up with saddlebags, go off-road. You know, there's a whole off-road adventure centre that sort of deals with, you know, how to ride and how to get the most out of
Have
Pan
you
America.
noticed some of your loyal customers have started shifting over to the Pan America? Is it enough to get people off the traditional styled Harleys and onto an adventure bike?
We've had people who just go for Pan America because they're into that adventure touring thing. So we've got that. We do have actually also a lot of Harley customers who fancy it as a different type of bike in their garage. That's quite a popular thing. We saw that initially when it came out, but now what we're seeing is a lot of conquest customers coming in from other brands who like the look of Pan America. They like the idea it's a Harley Davidson, and you know, and it's had some really good results.
One thing I haven't seen: do you have any live wires in?
Yep, we've got one there.
This, I've noticed your workshop's behind us there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll go into there next.
Yeah.
But while we've got a live wire here, these are probably never going to be the biggest sellers. With that in mind, do you need to fully train someone up in the garage to work on these bikes, regardless of the fact you may only work on 2 a year, for example?
Yeah. Well, actually, for Livewire, I mean, when we first heard Livewire was coming out, it was happening a few years before it landed, and we were excited about it, and the electric thing was really kicking off then. When it landed, I just thought it's such a fabulous bike, and I ride every day. It's almost the perfect motorbike, really. And so we really got behind it, and we sold lots of them.
Did you really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so interesting.
yeah.
How much of that's because you're in London?
A lot of that's to do with that. A lot of people we were selling them to people who were turned on by electric vehicles as well. They'd heard about Livewire and they were coming down. And the thing is, it's one of those bikes, when you ride it, test ride it, you just come back with a big smile on your face. You know, once you get over the fact there's no clutch and it's just fully
Which is
automatic.
weird.
That's right. But it's a phenomenal piece of kit.
It's not Harley Davidson now, it's Livewire.
Yeah.
How much are one of these now?
Well, the base Livewire is about 22, 23
I mean, they've come down a decent chunk, to be
When they
fair,
first
actually,
come out, they were
haven't
about 28, I think.
The workshop, would we be allowed to film inside?
Yeah, sure. Come through, come through.
Have a look. Hello. Ooh. Wow, this is, okay. I often speak to Americans, before I start freaking out, I often speak to Americans who say, look, they go into Harley Davidson dealerships and once their bike hits 20 years old.
Yeah.
The dealership said, sorry, no, go to an independent.
Yeah. That doesn't happen
This is
here.
not. This is not a 20-year-old bike.
No.
Tell us what you do, John.
Well, this is today's quite a good cross section. Really.
Oh, this is
Pan America.
This is insane. Oh, this is amazing. Okay, yes.
We've got customised bikes. We built. This has been built by us.
John, you customise bikes as well.
Yeah. We do everything like that. So anything to do with that brand, we do. So, and it's fabrication. One of the things we send out for, because there are people better at it than us, is paint. And there are different specialists we send paint to, depending on what's required.
Why do you do this when some dealerships may not take on the bigger projects, the older projects, the restorations?
I can get why they wouldn't do the older stuff, because it is a specialised field, and you've got to have all the contacts, you've got to know what you're doing, you've got to do all that sort of thing. And it's a busy workshop. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I like to hear, work going on.
So this bike here, for example, this has just come in from our store, because we're just about to get it up for sale and do it. This is a 1946 knucklehead. So obviously it's a complete rolling chassis. So this is a knucklehead chassis, which is, the knucklehead is one of Harley's golden bikes of history. They didn't make that many.
Sorry, what year again?
Well, they ran them from 36 to 47.
Okay, Monika, I'll just get you around to have a look at the patina on this. I won't touch it, but...
Yeah, this is literally just come out of a barn. So
it's come out of a barn?
Yeah, it's come out of storage. We have storage for a lot of the old stuff. So it's come up here because we got a customer who wants it.
And what was it, a barn find?
No, we've had it for a long time. I think originally this one came from South Africa. We sourced them from all over the place, but we would have had this probably about 30 years.
You source it. So what's the plan for this bike?
It's going to be restored for a customer who wants a knucklehead, and they're very rare. So we'll now source an engine from somewhere else, but we've got a rolling chassis with the original chassis, which is,
Oh my God, this is so interesting. I went on your website. You've got a section where you can sign up on your website. So let's say I'm interested in a 1939 this or that. If one comes in, if you find one, please let me know I want it. Is that what's happened for this?
No, this isn't like that, but people have come to us because they know we do the older stuff.
Okay.
But Bike Finder does work like that. If you're going to do it, it's like an estate agent thing. I'm interested in a 3-bed house with a red front door. So people sign up for that and they get to know as soon as stuff comes in.
But what level of finish is this going for? How will this look by the end?
He wants this restored to as it would have been, even down to paint scheme. So yeah, this is the start. What we do first is we build it in a mock build, so we know it's all there, and make sure everything fits and all that sort of stuff. And then it'll come apart again, and then be reassembled. And there's one over there. It's that engine there. That's an engine that's come out of store again. That's going into a chassis. There's one upstairs which I'll show you in the parts department. But this is a let me just check. I don't want to get it wrong. 1941 WLC. And again, it's just come out of storage, and that's going in a chassis, and that will be built as a 1941 WL.
And you've just kept this in storage for the right time that you
I mean, we don't, this is a particular request. This guy wanted a 750 with the cast iron heads. All gets a bit train spottery, but
of course,
the point is, that's a key thing, and it only happened on 1941 and slightly earlier. After that, they moved to the wartime issue, which was an aluminium cylinder head for better cooling, but this guy wanted that engine, so we're going to put it into, he wanted a 41 as opposed to one that's a bit later.
Okay, so you need to know your stuff for a request like that.
I've been doing it a long time, so it does sound a bit, but
Custom?
Custom, yeah. Well, this is another custom. This is a bike that we built. This is in for service.
Serious custom.
Lovely paint job, big wheels.
What year and model is it?
This would be, what's this, about 2014, I think, something like that.
The rear tyre is
240
ridiculous.
Section. That's big wheels like that. That's lowrider STs is coming for some work, service work, because the other part of it is you've just got regular service work going on all the time. So you've got the mixture.
Can see, I mean, these are quite popular, aren't they?
Yeah, Street Glides.
Street Glides.
Yeah, very popular. It's a great bike, the Street Glide. Just rides so nicely. Go anywhere on it.
What's your personal pick?
At the moment, Street Glide.
Street Glide.
Yeah. I do like them, and we do all sorts of events through the year, and we do lots of tours. One of our big ones this year, we're going to Italy. So we'll take about 100 customers with us.
100 customers going?
We all have a big party down in Italy. So for the tour, the best part about it is the ride. So obviously the venue is something else, but the ride down there, we could probably go through France. And
Where'd you start with 100 Harleys? What's the start location?
Well, no, they all start individually,
Yeah.
and we'll meet up at certain points. Otherwise, it's a complete nightmare when you get to a petrol station. So, but when we're actually down in Italy for the venue, that's when everybody gets together, and we have a big party, we have a big ride out all together, and all that sort of stuff. So it's just a way of we enjoy ourselves and we get to know our customers better.
Pan America.
Yep.
No live wires in at the moment, but right here you will work on live wires if needed.
Derek here. This is Derek Murphy's been one of our senior technicians. Been with us
trained on live wires
for many, many years. He's our live wire specialist, and he has to put the special equipment on and everything when you use and work on a live wire.
Can you? I'm sorry, you're not mic'd up, but just to nod. Can you work on anything from 1903 bikes to the live wire and anything in between?
Yep.
There you go. There you go. It's amazing. Amazing.
So this is our car park, which is a bit of a rarity in SW6.
I didn't even realise you had a car park actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the one I'm using at the moment. So this is
absolutely brand new.
Yeah, 2000. Still got a trade plate on it.
Even on a trade plate. How highly do you rate these?
It's just superb.
Really?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I use this to commute.
Monika, come have a look at the screen on this, just to show the camera. I know it's not on, but look at the size of this screen. Yeah. 2 speakers there.
Yeah, so I think it's three 12mm. It's the biggest TFT in the industry. Apparently.
Is it? The shape of the tank as well, it's all so stunning. They've stepped up again, haven't they?
They have. And the detail, there's stuff they've changed this year compared to last year that you might not necessarily notice straight away, but as a rider, I do. They've made the bags a bit wider. And you can suddenly, my rucksack fits in there very easily.
Will this be taken to Italy?
Yeah, this will be a bike I use to Italy.
I mean, you do a lot of these runs. You're also, am I right, you're the founder of the Chelsea and Fulham Harley Owners Group,
right,
and also Meridian too.
That's
so
right,
you do a lot of stuff in the Harley community.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So this is a list of our events for the year. So this is Chelsea and Fulham Hog. So the first Meet the Chapter is March 23rd, but there is actually a dealership event on March the 2nd as well. So all of these rides go through all the whole year. There's our Italian event there, the Premier Chapter event.
Okay, I mean, this is a very, very busy schedule, isn't it?
Yeah,
You
there's always
a lot of stuff here.
And that dovetails with the Meridian one as well, so the members can go to either or. And then obviously July the 6th, we have our 100th anniversary here, which is going to be massive.
Right here, actually, that's a really good point. I was going to bring that up at the end, but perfect for now. 6th of July, right here. Bands, food, music.
We've got a really cool headline band too, which we're going to announce very soon. Music, food.
Anyone welcome?
Anyone's welcome. Absolutely.
And it will be hosted right here.
And this whole area is going to be packed. And all the bands and everything, the stage is all out there. It's just going to be. We did the similar thing for our 90th anniversary, and the whole area just came to,
Wow. Harley's parked outside as well.
Everywhere.
The street packed.
Yeah. It's a historic event, so you're near. If you're into biking and you're in the UK, you kind of got to come, really.
Yeah.
Because it's quite unique.
I mean, not just from Harley Davidson's point of view. This is, as 100 years old, it's got to be one of the oldest motorbike dealerships still in
I'd say so,
run.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a family. This is my brother Robert. He runs the sales department.
Nice.
Hello. This is Freddie.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you. And this is Monika.
And so this is an old one here.
Can I just see if I can remember? This is called the Grey Silent Fellow.
Silent Grey Fellow.
Silent Grey Fellow.
Nearly there.
Your bike?
Yeah. This is one of our oldest V twins. So this was 1915. This one. And it's the first year that Harley made a proper transmission, a 3-speed transmission. Prior to that, and most of the bikes at the time were either like the Sturmey Archer type thing in the hub, or they were direct drive. So Harley engineered and built this 1915, proper transmission, proper clutch.
I can see the levers on this side.
And way ahead of its time, and you kind of see why they did so well at that time. They were leaps ahead of a lot of other bikes.
I mean, John, it's incredible to think this bike, 1915. So this came out 12 years after Harley Davidson started. If you think back then, these bikes, the original founders of Harley Davidson, would have test ridden to actually feel. It would have been one of the original owners and founders of Harley who would have taken this out to get a feel for it. That's phenomenal.
Anything in that era, prior to that sort of 1915-ish, They were a small enough company that that's exactly what would happen. One of the guys would take it around the streets of Milwaukee, see if it works, test the suspension, and pop it back, and it would be shipped off somewhere else. Obviously, these are mostly new. So we've got everything from street bobs to fat boys to breakouts to, that's last year's Road King special.
I always think one of the sweet spots is the street bob. I don't know why, it's just a beautiful stripped back styling, isn't it?
It's is
such a timeless looking bike.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Clean lines, all engine.
And actually, sorry, next to it, is that the standard?
Yeah, that's the standard one. We did even the standard ones, we chop and change a bit. Yeah. So most of the time you won't see a stock bike in here, even if it's just down to detail. So this is a brand new bike, but we've changed the tank, the design of the tank. And also on this one, we've got different handlebars on, we put different foot pegs on.
And you do that yourself?
Yeah, we do it all here. So when people are searching for that particular bike, they can find something that's a bit different. And it might be what they're after, you know. If they want a stock one, obviously we can do that.
I love these because straight out of the box, these for me are the kind of chilled out, laid back, easy rider style out of the brand new selection of bikes. They're just beautiful and what people picture a Harley to be like in their mind. You know, I really like
and
these.
They really are beautifully made. You know, the paint on them, the chrome, everything about them is superb quality.
Like this is not a big bike, relatively speaking. Isn't this close to a 1900cc engine now? And it's
1860.
It's small, you know, relatively speaking, isn't it? You cannot believe this has an engine bigger than most
Look
cars.
how slim it is.
Incredible.
Look how slim that bike is, you know.
I mean,
that's the beauty of the V-twin. It's a slim engine.
Yeah, love them.
So around here, we've got some even earlier stuff. Oh, this is a bike, actually, before we go there, this is a brand new street bob. It's an anniversary edition, so we're doing a lot of these this year. So this is we take a brand new street bob, customise it with our anniversary paint colour, which is this deep red.
Sorry, does this come from the factory or you actually do the paint?
We do that here. So it hasn't turned the wheels, brand new, but it's been done here. And then we have these badges, these beautiful brass badges fabricated with our logo.
These are Warr's special badges
right,
for the 100th anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful touch. And the combination of almost
the colourways,
candy red with the gold wheels.
It's a very nostalgic colour tone, so we like that. The seat's been done, obviously, especially embroidered and stuff.
And that's embroidered with Warr's 100th anniversary. Beautiful bike.
It is.
For sale or just
for
sale? I mean, how old are these? These are...
Well, these are some of our oldest. So this is one of my oldest here. This is 1912.
For sale or not?
No.
This is where it turns slightly into almost a museum.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
but it's yours?
Yeah, this is right. This is kind of museum corner, if you like. So we chop and change the display so that you might come in here 6 months ago and it would have been a different selection. But we always have some of the grey fellows because they're always interesting. So this is 1912. And we keep this here because it really is going back to bicycle stuff, you know. That motor is bomb-proof, and that's why Harley were called the Harley Davidson Motor Company, and still are, because initially you could just buy an engine if you wanted. If you had a sawmill in Pennsylvania and you wanted to operate your sawmill or whatever, you could go to the Harley Davidson Motor Company and buy an engine, because they were renowned for being reliable, you see.
And this would have been one of the engines that...
Well, this has come in a bike. But
Yeah.
you could have gone to, and got just the engine if you wanted to, and it spend the rest of its life bolted to a bench, spinning a belt, on a sawmill or something. But anyway, but this particular one, this Harley Davidson, was lucky enough to come with that engine in it. So this is 1912, minimal production numbers at that time. You know, they were still operating out of not much more than a shed.
But they were the belt on this, John, is that wood?
Well, it's leather.
It's leather.
Let's get it out. Should we drag it out and you can see it a bit better now? So this is...
Wow.
Well, what are we now, Freddie? How old is this? This is
112?
112.
112 years old. I mean, that's...
So the deal on this bike is this does not have a transmission. Okay, so you got on this, you don't have any brakes.
No brakes?
No brakes. There's a kind of a bit of a back pedal thing like there might have been on an early bicycle, but there's nothing to grab hold of on the front.
This is weird. Look at this. There's nothing here.
Yeah.
That is weird. Okay.
And it's direct drive. So that once that motor's going, it's powering that rear wheel.
Oh, and it's got pedals, I've just noticed.
Yeah, well, that's how you get it going.
Ah.
But the belt that drives it is leather. You see it. It's a leather belt.
It's leather. With this, if you wanted to, you could still get this running.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just out of interest, how do you brake on this then, once you get it going?
With size 9s, pretty much, yeah.
Use your foot to stop. That's amazing.
But if you think about it, when it was built, there probably wasn't that much traffic around. Most of the roads were dirt, in the States especially, I suppose. And that's why they have these big handlebars on them, because they needed something to manoeuvre the wheel in and out of the ruts on the road. It had to have a lot of leverage to it.
I mean, isn't it incredible if you think the things this bike would have seen? You're right, this would have been on dirt roads in the US.
Yeah, that's right.
With nothing, with no cars around for hour after hour.
You go and you put a little pot of petrol in the, in the chemist, put it in there, and away you go. And then this one here, suddenly, it's only 2 years later, so this is 1912, 1914.
Very different to look at, though.
This is a rocket ship.
Is it?
Yeah.
Horsepower on this one?
About 6. It's pretty good, you know.
And this one, well, closer to 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 horsepower.
Two.
But this is a special, very special bike, because this is the first Harley with a transmission. And it's got a 2-speed gearbox, and you operate it on that lovely little thing there. Wow. It's like a Sturmey Archer, it's in the hub.
Yeah.
So as you're going along, you select first, off you go. You've got a hand clutch on it and a foot clutch.
John, what year is this again?
This is 14.
So the difference in 2 years is colossal, considering it's just 2 years.
That's right.
They were moving on so quickly at that point.
Yeah, suddenly you've got a rear brake as well. You've actually got proper rear brake, band brake.
And we're starting to see the evolution of motorbikes turning into what we now know as motorbikes.
Yeah.
And onto the sports stuff?
Well, these are some classics. This is a 1968. I mean, this colourway for Harley is sort of iconic. The black, the white and the orange. Harley always used to have their team factory racers in that colour code. Certainly from the 60s onwards anyway. And now these two are real pieces of Harley history. This is a 1968 KRTT. A bike like this is not the exact bike, this is a bike like this, lapped Daytona 150 miles an hour. Back then,
all the way
average. It's tucked into that little bubble, you know, there's nothing to it.
Yeah, and I can see this is perfect to tuck your legs into behind here. You're completely down there.
Now this one next to it is only a few years older. It's a 72. This is the classic XR 750, ridden by Cal Rayborn, very famous racer at the time. 170 miles an hour, you know. Again,
back in 90, so this
72.
was 52
Harley were winning
years ago, and they were doing 170.
Yeah, Harley were winning equivalent of Moto GP with that back then. Yeah, so it was cutting edge, and then just after that, as you get into the 70s, suddenly you see the development of the 2-strokes, because that wasn't Harley's bag.
Which changed everything.
Yeah, that's right.
57 Sports, I mean, that in itself
Well, this one here, this is a 57 Sports, so that's the first year of the Sportster.
Is it?
Yeah, that's right. So that's quite special from that point of view. It was the first time Harley.
And it's this one just...
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 57, no, it's fine. So it's that gold and white one, 57 Sportster.
57
That's got the
Sports.
headlamp and the front more
very, very classic, like Fat Boy type.
Exactly.
You know, pieces of Harley sort of design that they've kept. Next to it's that's a Cafe Racer from the 77.
That's the one, yeah.
Very iconic look. You know, designed by Willie G, very stylish. A great looking machine. 77.
77 Cafe Racer style with, I mean, behind it, this is a really special bike.
Yeah.
46 Knucklehead.
It's completely original. This is
so
probably...
never restored.
No. It's just conserved. So that's what they say now, is it conserved. So that's the original paint. It came from Milwaukee with. You see it's all cracked and it... but it's a gorgeous thing.
It's a gorgeous thing.
And it will start on a button. It's a 1000cc Knucklehead. So the one out the back that I showed you, the workshop with the frame and all that, that's what this guy is after.
Oh, that's impossible for me to envisage when I just see it there. But
so
this
that
is in
chassis
essence,
is that.
Right. I mean, the simplicity is so beautiful, isn't it? And to think nothing's changed on this bike ever since it was made.
Well, only to sort of keep it in good order.
That is coming up to 80 years old. I mean, that really
Well, this bike belonged originally to the dealer in Buffalo, New York. So he had it from new. And then he knew my father, and they managed to do a deal back in the 70s. And my dad, who was very special in that, he swapped one of these for that, and it's been with us ever since.
And this is almost the transitional period from interwar period, or sorry, I should say 1939 all the way through to 56 or something, when you just couldn't get any new bikes from the US, and you're thinking, my lord, how are we going to keep the business going? Right, This is the bike to do it.
This is it. So they shipped thousands of these over to Europe and the rest of the world.
For what purpose?
For war. It was a war bike, wartime
Even in
bike.
Europe, this was a war bike?
Absolutely, this was the bike. So it's part of the American sort of support for the Allies. So these bikes, the RAF had these.
I mean, you would have seen British soldiers riding around on Harley Davidsons in World War II. I did not know that.
You know, you get an 18-year-old and you get put on one of these straight away.
And he's going around the fields.
And it was a bike that, especially in the desert warfare, it was very, very reliable because they used a very high-tech oil bath air cleaner. Nothing could get in there. They were absolutely bomb-proof.
Were they really?
There's some letters there that we framed which are part of that process to try and get the bikes back in to be re-imported from the factory. So the factory, there's letters there from the Harley Davidson factory saying, yes, we want to do this. There's letters from Congress, and there's, it's all about sort of trying to get a deal done so that they could allow a few Harley Davidsons in. Oh, that's me. When I'm in there. That's what I used to do in a previous life.
Riding what?
That's an XR1000, so that's a flat tracker, basically. Wow. But I used to ride, especially on certain tracks, that's Brands Hatch, amongst this sort of stuff, because it was a very good, short, sharp burst bike. Often get podium places with it.
Oh, would you?
Oh, yeah. And you can see it drifted a lot. That was the advantage of it.
I know, I love the line you're taking here.
Well, to come around the outside, because of the way, because the bike was long, and because the tyres were pretty crap, you can see it was sort of like, it's right over there, but I could just drift it.
I mean, you were proper knee down here.
Yeah. And that was when it wasn't that popular to do the knee thing, so. But see, they haven't got theirs down.
Yeah, I know, I noticed that, yeah.
Part of the whole Harley thing is that people will collect. So as you probably see, there are people from all over the place come in here and they'll collect souvenirs. A nice camping mug, you see that?
Yes.
But primarily it's T-shirts people collect.
I should say, I've just noticed as well, because the classic Harley Davidson, see there's one there.
Yeah.
I just love these ones.
The Bar and Shield T-shirt,
Simple, timeless, I love this style. That's a perfect T-shirt there.
So you got all that, then you got the collectible shirts like this, you see, with the different backs. So you get people coming in from all over the world and they'll pick a Warr shirt with a London back on it.
Oh, I see. So standard on the front.
Yep.
And then on the back.
Yeah.
In fact, Monika, you've got a classic one of these from the US. So that's in essence how it works. We were curious about that. You go to different places around the world and every place will have its own specific Harley Davidson style on the back. I like it. Okay.
So you've got different designs. And of course this year we've also got our anniversary design, which is, that's one of them anyway. That's a hoodie. We sell loads of these hoodies because people love them and they're on a bike. It's nothing better than having that under your jacket. It's kind of a really good piece of kit that you need. So we do a lot of these. So that's the 100th anniversary logo. So this is kind of just a little nod to our past again. We've got some sort of original parts, bits and pieces that I can show you when we go to the parts pump. But at the back there is a picture of the Harley Davidson Riders Club in 1952. And the reason I find it quite interesting is because everyone's all suited and booted. And yet this is a motorcyclist riders' dinner. Back then, we think it's new now. But,
and they're still snappy dresses, aren't they?
Very, yeah.
I love this one. This would be, am I right in thinking, your father
that's
and William
right.
Davidson?
That's right. So he came over here.
This is how instrumental they were. I mean, they were meeting the MDs, the owners at the time of Harley Davidson.
Yeah. Well, he'd already been to see him several times in the States. So like I said, he was, wined and dined on Lake Michigan by Mr. Davidson. And there's some letters at the back there that they were sort of corresponding. The nice thing about letters are you've got a record of it.
This is to Mr. Fred Warr, and
Dear
then
Fred.
Sincerely yours, William Davidson, President.
Oh, and in there, that's why we've got it in there. In there, he also mentions William Harley, who came here and visited too. So he mentions that William Harley enjoyed his trip in October to see you.
That's brilliant. December 28th, 1962.
Yeah. So up onto the rooftop. It's a bit miserable up here. So
Oh, who would have guessed this? Come on, this is incredible. So what we've got here, we've got Chelsea Football Club there.
absolutely. God bless the CFC.
Chelsea Football Club over there, just to give you an idea of location. And you've got a lineup of Harley Davidsons on the rooftop, same level as the penthouses all around us.
Yeah. I mean, generally in...
And you've got a Honda Deauville as well.
As I said, I love old bikes. But we got... In the summertime, we'll have probably over 150 bikes up here, goes wrapped around the corner. So it's a storage area for us as well.
I mean, you must have had reinforced...
Oh yeah, we don't have to think about that. So you've got the King's Road there, obviously CFC, Chelsea Football Ground, the Emperor State Building there. Over there you've got Wimbledon, and you know, it's a great spot. It's easy to get to, and we're lucky to be here, really. This is parts floor, parts and accessories.
We're now in the basement.
No, this is first floor.
God, I've lost my bearings.
Yeah, it's easy to do in here.
So we come in ground floor, we went up to this...
We went up to the top, we come down to a floor here. There's mezzanine levels as well, but this is where all the work does for the parts guys.
We've got the parts guys over there. Do you know, again, John, something that interests me with this, exactly the same as the kind of bikes that you can supply and the work that you can do. You supply parts for any Harley Davidson. It's not just the ones that you're selling from
No,
new
that's
stock,
right,
it's
yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And is it all here, or is it the connections you've got around the world? So
Well,
great, I know someone in the US, I can get this or that.
There's a bit of that. A lot of it is stock. We don't necessarily hold it here because some of it is slower moving. So if someone wants a crank pin for a 1925 J model, we probably wouldn't stock it here, but we'll get it out of our warehouse and we can supply it. Well, this is the 1915 motor, V-twin. So quite rare. That's a shovel head, venerable shovel head, from the sort of late 60s, 70s, and that'll be about 63.
Yeah.
So, you know, and all the bits for that motor we'll have. Oh, that's a transmission out of that. That's a 1915. That's the first Harley transmission. So, you know, it's ongoing, and we supply all around the world.
Yeah, you do. I read about this as well.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
someone in Germany is looking for specific parts,
absolutely,
you've got a
yeah.
reputation whereby people, regardless of where it is in the world, may well contact you to try and source a part.
Yeah, definitely.
If they're doing a build, a restoration, something like that.
And we've got a lot of customers in America who can't source a part
You're
there.
joking, do you really?
Yeah, that's right. So they'll come to us, and there is a community of that. So once people get online, they can find out who's got stuff. But yeah, we're always busy doing parts sourcing.
Places like this are so important because so many of the older bikes, especially the Japanese ones, they almost become obsolete. You can't use them anymore because it's so difficult to get parts.
Yeah.
But because the following of Harley Davidson is so strong, to have someone like you here being able to keep, in essence, all of these bikes on the road in some way or another, whether it's supplying parts, restoring them, it's so important for the community and the strength of the brand.
Yeah, absolutely, and it keeps the bikes on the road. And when you've got it, you know you're not going to run out of stuff. And even if it's not available by Harley, the original product, usually there's someone out there making something that will fit it. So there's that massive industry. You have all, and because the Harley product didn't change that often, certainly in days gone by. I mean, that motor there would have run for, let me think, 65, probably about 20 odd years. You know, that motor in service in every year's bike from 1965 up to 1984, 83. So, you know, so you've got a long period that you can have a bike for different models through that period, and we can still get the parts for it. This has just come out of store. This has got to go in the workshop. So this is a 750, the military bike, chassis with a motor. We've just dug it out of storage, and that's going to be creating a new bike out of that.
How amazing is this? You've got something like this. This is going to be a motorcycle again.
It's going to be a WL750, which is, you know, the classic, you know, World War II era Harley. So the chassis come out of storage, ready to go. The motor, obviously, it's like the one downstairs, like the Knuckler. We're going to go right the way through it and build it up into a complete bike.
I mean, the fact you're bringing that back to life, you're putting a new old motorcycle back on the road is beyond exciting.
And who knows what it's done in a previous life, you know, you can see it's been around the block a few times.
Yeah.
But it's still there, and everything on that particular model is available. You know, that they've got such a following, that particular brand, the WL750, it's all available. But the key, of course, is to have the original cases chassis, and then you can do the rest.
And that will take how long to get to the point you're happy with?
From starting the job to end renovation, probably about 6 weeks on that.
So that's not much, actually.
No,
it's not much.
No, they're pretty straightforward bikes, really, and and once it's put together, there's not that much to think about. There's not a lot of electrics or things that you have to think about. It's all sort of old-fashioned technology that is pretty robust and easy to assemble.
What year would this be?
This is late 50s.
And so late 50s,
And,
the
yeah.
old building, which was an old Victorian
That's right, yeah.
house.
So this was an area out the back. But if you see our guys in the workshop still wear these white overalls, it's a sort of traditional thing.
In late 50s, this would have meant that a lot of these would have been the likes of the 750s, because you may
Yeah.
only have got in 240 of the different Harleys
Exactly.
at that point.
Even then, if you look, that bike's a 750.
Yes.
So's that. That isn't. That's a panhead. So
They were coming in.
they were coming in, but it was still mostly WL 750s.
So a lot of the WL 750s that are here in the UK, very possibly are thanks to you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we still get customers who've got one and they want to know the history of it because they know it probably came through here to start with. And we got some of their archives going back, and although a lot of it isn't computerised, it makes it hard to find, but it's a good chance that they would have come through us at some point.
John, I've got this one story I was reading. Because of the base that you've got here and the expertise that you've got, the reputation you've got, you'd have some people getting in touch to make a film, for example, and needing bikes for films.
Oh, yeah.
And there's one brilliant story, I think it was with your dad, 1968 film, Alain Delon. And your dad had to do some of the riding within the film.
That's right.
But he had to double up for a woman and not a man.
That's right.
What's the story behind that?
Well, that's it. The film was Girl on a Motorcycle, and the star was Marianne Faithfull, who was Jagger's girlfriend at the time, I think. But anyway, one of the things that my dad used to do in the 50s and 60s is because the bikes were quite sought after by film companies and things, they would have a bit of Americana. So if someone was making a film in the UK at Elstree and they were pretending it was in America or something, they would have a Harley. And so my dad ended up doing a lot of that with his friend as being a double for people. And that was a film where he had to double for Marianne Faithfull on the scenes where you see her riding through the French countryside on a Harley in white leathers. It's actually my dad. With a blonde wig on.
With a wig?
Yeah. And there's lots of those little weird little films from that time. And in fact, later on in his life, he carried on doing all that. Did other films and stuff. Did a lot of that. It was quite interesting. A diversion.
Yeah,
it was an interesting
I can
one.
imagine.
Yeah.
What, and just to wrap it up, what has been the key to your longevity and success? As other dealerships have come and gone, 100 years, why have you been so successful?
I think it's a passion for the brand. You've got to like motorbikes for a start. So, passion for the brand, loving a two-wheel thing, enjoying yourself while you're working helps. And we're still here.
Fantastic. I'll remind everyone, 6th of July, the day celebration here for 100 years of Warr. So if anyone's around,
100
it
years.
should be quite
it's
the
going
party.
to be quite a day. So save the date, make it in your diary, get to King's Road, and you'll have a whale of a time, and you'll be part of biking history in the UK.
John, thank you so much.
Thanks, Freddie. Pleasure to see you.